We get to our house and they've ripped out our bathroom. We did not tell them to do that. Hello and welcome to vlog number 5 of the moving vlogs. So this is a bit more explaining. If you didn't see the previous episodes, go and watch them. Otherwise this is not going to make any sense at all. And before I start, I just want to say that this video talks about our experience with a builder and what we felt about it. It's our feelings, our opinions. It's a factual account of our own experience. And if somehow you manage to find out who this builder is, please do not contact him. Do not leave him reviews. Do not do any of that. Please don't. Just leave it be. I've seen this play out with other people online. Last episode we went through what happened on the 4th of February, 3rd and 4th of February, and now we are on to the 5th of February. So we left off by agreeing that on Friday we were going to meet with the electrician that Phil works with and discuss all the electrics. And Phil said that he had a plasterer booked for next week after the electrician, even though we hadn't said that we would use this electrician yet. We did. It was a mistake. It wasn't a kind of... It felt like we didn't have a choice. It was going to be a massive issue if we didn't use this electrician. I don't know what would have happened if we'd gone with another electrician. I suspect that it would have gone badly in a different way to the way it went badly. I think the work could have, if we'd found a good one, been a lot better, but the stress probably would have been the same. Anyway, let's start with what happened at the start of the day on the 5th. So we started off the day by asking Phil to be very careful not to leave things on our neighbour's drive. We share a drive with our neighbour. It's like one drive, and then her side is paved in one design and our side is paved in another design. There's like a line down the middle, but there's not like a fence or anything. She had told us that she'd found nails and screws on her drive, which is just not acceptable. You do not want nails or screws on your drive when you want to put your car there. So started off by relaying this message to Phil, and he said that they'd been purposely very careful of this and had swept off her drive last night. Which, okay. At this point we knew that they were really messy. I'll insert the clip from a few videos ago of how they left our living room. It just kind of felt like they had a general disregard for our property, which we'll come back to that. He says that they swept her drive. I say that while they were working on this house, I spent a lot of time sweeping our neighbour's drive because they left stuff all over it. But apparently they were being purposely careful. I don't know. Towards the end of the last video, I explained how Phil wanted 6k, but we could only send 2k at that time because that was a limit on my bank account. And I had to go into the bank to get this all sorted. And I'd said that I was going to go in the next day at opening time, which was 9:30 a.m. So at 9 a.m, Phil starts going, "Oh, you're going to the bank? Are you going to the bank?" "Yes, Phil, we've told you it opens at 9:30. I was literally there waiting in the queue with all the pensioners to get into the bank at 9:30 on the dot. We got it sorted. It was fine. It was just a bit of added stress. That's alright, it's okay. The garage remote. This was a recurring issue. Why? I don't know. It was something so stupid. Like, so we had a garage. The garage door was like an electric one. So there's a remote that you click the button and the garage opens, and then you click the button and the garage closes. This was the only way to get into the garage because there wasn't a key or anything, there was just this remote. So the builders wanted to use our garage to put some of their stuff in, that was fine. We wanted to use our garage to put some of our stuff in from our old house to store it. Fine, except that the builders have been, and then we just could not find the garage remote. We asked for them to leave the garage remote in the living room because we wanted to put things in our garage, and Phil responds by saying, of course we'll put it in the living room. We'll circle back to that. This, I'm going to put the picture on the screen, otherwise you're not going to have a chance of understanding what I'm talking about. This is a plan of the fridge wall of our kitchen. Phil sent this image across, and you see the drawer on the far right hand side, not the drawer, well it is kind of a drawer, it is a bin. It clearly has a handle going across rather than vertical that will become relevant eventually. We're looking at the other two drawers next to that one. He circles these two drawers and says this is where a hidden drawer is going to be. It felt a little bit like we didn't have control over our own kitchen. This was okay. It was okay because we liked what he was saying, but it was kind of a bit like, is this our kitchen or is this your kitchen that you're designing and saying that this is what we're having? Phil sent over an image of a spice rack within a hidden drawer and says, this is what we're proposing for your spices. This was one of the things that I stressed so heavily when I was talking about the kitchen design, saying that we want a spice rack like inbuilt in a drawer. We want a spice rack in there. I mentioned it so many times. Spice rack, spice rack, spice rack, spice rack. I was determined this spice rack was going to happen. So they send over a spice rack image and it's the full drawer. So Jack says, well, can we do half a drawer instead? We don't have that many spices. And they send over some Amazon links of things that we could do. A little while later, Jack quotes this Amazon link and says, this one looks great, and Helen, who is the partner, the one who's involved in admin and kitchen design, heart reacted to this. So they've acknowledged that we've said that this is what we like. This one looks great. Phil asks for my full name and email and then sends the kitchen quote to me, which is slightly strange because most of his correspondence has been with Jack. So why all of a sudden is he specifically asking me for stuff to be sent directly to me when everything else has been going directly to Jack, and Jack has been doing all that side of it thus far. It was just a bit odd, but hey ho, we get a contract for the kitchen sent over. This is the only actual contract we saw and signed throughout this entire thing. But he sent over the contract. And he said, this is to include the custom built cupboard for the boiler housing, and also the worktop will have a waterfall edge down the side of the dryer washer. We had discussed, me and Jack had discussed not getting a waterfall edge because we were wanting to save some money. We didn't feel we needed one. It would be lovely, but a bit extravagant. Jack asks about how much it was. Phil says that he thinks that the waterfall was about £350 to £400, and he was trying to persuade us to do it by saying, quote, The veins flow from the worktop and continue down the side. Beautiful. Can you imagine? It would be beautiful. Jack asks to remove the waterfall as we need to think about our budget. We don't have unlimited money. Phil seemed to think that we did. We did not have unlimited money. We had a budget. It all went a bit wrong. And we got there in the end. But we did have a budget. So we misunderstood Phil's next message. He said that he'd messaged the countertop people and had said that they were happy to do it for a lower price. This is including an upstand and a full splashback behind the hob. We misread this and thought that, because there was £500 knocked off the price, so we thought that this meant that the waterfall bit of the countertop had been taken off completely and we weren't doing that, and it was going to be £500 less for everything else, which was great. That's what we were expecting. Jack confirms that we're happy with that and we sign the proposal. So at this point, this is what we think we're getting. Now, stick with me here. I'm going to try and put things up on the screen to make this make more sense to you, because it's going to be a bit tricky. But this is what we thought we were getting. A U-shaped kitchen with space for our fridge, with some tall storage next to it, a built-in oven and microwave with a cupboard drawer above and beneath it, some counter space with some drawers including the hidden drawer with the spice rack and a built-in bin underneath it, and then some cupboards above that counter space. And then we're going around a corner, so there'll be a corner cupboard and then a regular cupboard, and then underneath there will be another regular cupboard. And then there will be the hob and the extractor fan and 2 drawers underneath, including a hidden cutlery drawer. And then next to that there will be another ordinary cupboard, and then the countertop, and above that there will be some more ordinary cupboards. Then we go round the corner again. We would have a built-in dishwasher, a sink with a cupboard underneath it, and then 2 gaps with doors over the top of them where we're going to put the washer that we already have and a dryer that we're going to buy. Then in the corner where the boiler is, a tall cupboard surrounding the boiler which matches in with the rest of the kitchen. So basically like a tall storage kitchen cabinet around the boiler. And then for the worktop, a full worktop with an upstand and a full splashback behind the hob and no waterfall. So this is what we're expecting. Then Phil says that we need to get the kitchen paid for in the morning so that we're on track for delivery. It was all a bit quick. We'd just agreed to this thing and now he was wanting this full almost £20,000 straight away. Anyway, we're on to the 6th of February now, and I have transferred the money for the kitchen from my savings account into my regular account, but the savings account that I had, it wasn't an instantaneous transfer, and because it was so much money as well. So I called the bank to be like, well, when's this money going to come through? They said it could take until 5 p.m. the next day. So this was an unhappy revelation. Added a lot of stress to everything because I had this stupid savings account that didn't work. I have a new savings account now where you can move things and it instantaneously arrives like a normal account that I've had before, but it was just a mess. We've stopped using that bank now. Anyway, I said that I would keep checking my account to see when the money was in it and then I'd pay them as soon as possible. And I asked for them to give more notice next time they need to be paid, because obviously I'm going to need to transfer money from my savings account again and it's going to take a while. So I need more notice. We'll come back around to this. There was a bit of discussion about flooring. We've been looking at some flooring places and we decided on a style that we liked, and Phil sent over a quote for like for him to fit some flooring and to use the flooring of some guy that he uses to get flooring from. This quote did not add up at all. I do not know what on earth was happening with these numbers, but this quote did not add up. He sent the quote and then he sent like the price per metre squared and the metre squareage, and then his price per metre squared for fitting. And the metre squareage and the price per metre square for the products and for the fitting did not equal the price that he was saying it was going to be. I don't know what happened there, but that was just confusing. It doesn't matter though. We can take that one to the side because this one is a big one. The next topic is the outdoor stats. So we had some beautiful new French doors, but they are like up here. The ground is like down here. We need some steps to be able to get down. So we're discussing this with Phil to try and figure out something. He sent a hand-drawn plan for back steps, and it shows 2 steps, one on top of the other, looking like you can get down both sides and down the front. Then he explains his drawing. We misunderstood this because the drawing was clearly a step and a step. I'll put it on the screen. A step and a step where you can go off the front and down both sides. But he did explain his drawing and saying that there'll be one bottom step the width of the bay and a top step the width of the doors, and that you'd need a piece of rope to protect the front edge so you don't fall into the garden. We say it looks good, but we're trying to make it as cheap as we can. Phil tells us how much the materials will be and that it'll be a couple labourers' day of work. So we're expecting maybe £650, which is more than we wanted to spend on this, but it was just gonna be. And then Phil sent an image of some lovely, beautiful, nicely finished decking stairs and says that's the principle, but except you won't be able to come off the front, it'll be either side. So we completely misunderstood this, and that was our bad. He did tell us that we weren't going to be able to come off the front and it was going to be either side. But that was a bit of a surprise, but that was our bad. Then, so you know how 5th February we asked about leaving the garage key? Well, they took it away with them again, so we could not access our garage. So we asked them again to leave the garage key. Thankfully they did this time. However, they left it on the kitchen windowsill, not in the living room as we asked. And you're probably thinking, what is the issue here? The issue is that the kitchen had a massive hole in the side of it. And the garden gate had no lock on it, and even if it did have a lock on it, it wasn't exactly hard to climb over. So they leave the garage key very unsecurely. We did ask that it be in the living room, which is behind the locked front door and the barricaded back door, which was within that section of the house, but all in all we were just relieved that they left the key. It wasn't that secure, but you know what, they left the key and that was all that mattered at this moment. End of the day, Phil asked if the money has come into my account. It hadn't. Was stressing me out. Money hadn't come through yet. Oh god. Okay. Next day, the 7th of February, we had an in-person discussion with the electrician. He was called Tom. We agreed to a full rewire because the house needed a full rewire basically, and that way we were going to be able to choose where plug sockets went. We needed to add in plug sockets because it was an old, it was like this house hadn't been touched since the 50s. There weren't anywhere near enough plug sockets for what we were required. It would have just been extension cables everywhere if we hadn't had the chance to decide where we wanted the plug sockets. So we did that. Bill says that this includes the smoke, heat and carbon alarm. I did suspect for a long time that we didn't get the carbon alarm. I checked today to check because We thought, oh, maybe this is a combi alarm. We do not have a carbon alarm. We never got one. We paid expecting to have one. So we're going to Screwfix tomorrow. Well, I'm going to Screwfix tomorrow to pick up a carbon monoxide alarm because we could have poisoned ourselves. We had boiler issues a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm wondering if the carbon monoxide alarm would have been going crazy had we have one. Yeah, so that's great. He also claimed that Tom would send us an invoice over the weekend. We never got an invoice, of course. But we agreed to 50% payment up front and 50% payment once complete. Once complete. We had so many issues with this electrician. Oh my god, it was honestly there was so many issues with him wanting to be paid, and we were like, we agreed 50% up front, 50% on completion, and he's not finished. He's not finished the work. We're not paying you until you finish the work. Oh, anyway, we'll get to that eventually. But at the end of this day, I confirm that I have sent the kitchen payment over. The money's come into my account, hallelujah. We've paid for the kitchen. 8th of February. Jack asked if the garage key has been left anywhere because we couldn't find it, and we didn't get a response, so we couldn't get into our garage again. I believe this was a Saturday as well, and we wanted to do some work in our house, but we couldn't because they took our garage key again. Yay. Yeah, it was a Saturday. The 8th was a Saturday. The 9th, no messages in the chat. Well, I was going to say we didn't expect it because it was a weekend, but they did work weekends, so this is the big one, though. There's no messages in the chat, but we arrived at our house. They ripped our bathroom out. We'd had a vague conversation with Phil about what we might want to do with the bathroom, asking him kind of what, like if he could do anything for us for the bathroom, just kind of scoping out what we could do, thinking about how this was all going to go. We arrive and they've ripped our bathroom out. We never told them to do this. We never said, go ahead and rip out our bathroom, we are ready. Between us, we were actually still debating whether we were going to just keep the bathroom that was there, because it was livable. The bathroom that was there was livable, and we were thinking about, well, maybe we can just live with this bathroom for a little bit and then save up a bit more money and get the bathroom done in a year. We hadn't even decided between ourselves if we were going to get a new bathroom, and we'd get to our house and the bathroom's been ripped out. I get up the stairs, I'm like, where is the bathroom? Did you tell Phil to rip out the bathroom? No. What? Why is our bathroom gone? Unbelievable. The most unbelievable part is I don't think we confronted him about this. I think we did eventually, but I don't think we did at the time. I can't remember, it's all a bit of a blur, because it was such a shock getting to our house and they'd ripped out our bathroom. Like, I don't remember. I do not remember what happened that day at all. We got there, the bathroom was gone. I was like, what? I'm standing there thinking, do we have the money to put in a new bathroom? So that's where we're gonna leave it. Our bathroom gone. No bathroom. They left the toilet because they needed somewhere to wee. Well, at this point they had a toilet. Later on they ripped the toilet out and they just don't have anywhere to go to the bathroom, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to hire a porta potty or something as the owner of a building company for your labourers to be able to go to the toilet. At this point they had a toilet. It was lovely and private though. There was no door. I feel like you couldn't write this. Like, it's something out of a movie. Honestly, it was unbelievable. I'm like, where is our bathroom? It's gone. Anyway, that is where we're gonna leave it for today's video. It's just starting to get juicy. I mean, everything so far has been little until the bathroom's gone. Yeah. It's about to get good. It's about to get good. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, so that you can be notified when the next video goes up. And yeah. I'll see you next time. Bye!